So, Aston Villa in the Premier League 2019-20 after being promoted at Wembley in May 2019. But after 12 games, how do I think it's gone so far? Well, that's what I'm here to talk about today. Welcome back to another Villa on Tour video. Today I'm just going to talk about my thoughts on how the season's gone so far. Obviously we are 12 games in to the Premier League season. How's it going? How the players are performing? You know, what are the expectations going into the rest of the season? So that's basically what this whole video is about. Stay tuned. Let's get into it. So that's basically what this video is all about. I'm just going to give my thoughts. Why not get yourself a cup of tea? You know what I mean? Decent. And yeah, shameless. Just before we do start as well, if you want to buy any Christmas presents for your family, max 20 for Luke Roper, 20% off. Cheers. So I think it's fair to say, going into the Premier League and up to this point, we've had our ups so far. Yes! 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 But we've also had our downs.
Jimenez goal.
He's disallowed him. I can't be bothered. He's given a free kick. That's disgusting.
Just talk about my sort of expectations going into this season. I thought we'd be in that 12th to 17th sort of range come the end of the season. I think, you know, it was always going to be difficult, it was always going to be tough. New manager, a lot of players coming in. However, I did think we had more firepower than the other promoted teams, and I still do, over Norwich. Sheffield United, just check out this clip from when I did my Premier League predictions. 20th position, I've gone Sheffield United now. They came second last season. They did absolutely incredibly well last season. Chris Wilder, I've got a lot of respect for him. He's similar to Dean Smith. It's his boyhood club that he's managing. I just don't see them staying up this season. So yeah, I think it's fair to say they've blown a lot of people's opinions out of the water. Fair play to them, full credit to them, they're absolutely flying. In terms of the transfers at the start of the season, I don't think there's anything that I would have changed apart from one thing, which is what I think Villa tried to do anyway, was bring in an extra striker. We were going for more pie, I think we were all knowing that, but I just think the price was a little bit too ridiculous. I think they wanted 20 million and he ended up going to Brighton instead, and he's done well, to be fair. Obviously we're left with Davis, who's still very raw, everyone knows that. He's got a lot of potential, but right now he's not there at the moment. Obviously he didn't even play a lot for us in the Championship, so he's not going to start week in, week out in the Premier League, is he? Kodja is useless. I don't think he's Premier League quality. I want to see him go in January. Well, it seems like I've got a lot of hatred for Kodja there, but I just don't think he's good enough at all. We'll talk about upcoming, you know, transfer targets that we could potentially go for in a bit, so stay tuned for that. I did actually put a tweet out asking for your guys' opinions on this whole video and everything we're going to talk about, so thank you a lot if you did reply to that. There was like nearly 100 comments, so sorry if I don't use yours. I did read them all though, and I respect all of them apart from one. But I'm not going to go into that. Anyway, so this one comes in from Brenton. He says, it's been pretty much as expected, but I do believe we lack that 2 to 3 experienced Premier League players to get us through some games. A little naivety has cost us 4 to 6 points. Decent comment, I'd agree with that. I'll come on to the naivety and us throwing away points in a little bit. In terms of the games we played in the Premier League so far, it was a slow start, wasn't it? Tottenham, there was positives there. We took the lead, but we did throw it away. I think Tottenham were flying at that point. Obviously they've gone on to be a little bit crap. That they're in 14th at the moment, but at that point they looked good. They just showed their quality and they beat us. Fair play to them. You know, we can't read too much into that though, because going away to Tottenham first game of the season, you're not really going to expect too much there, are you? But Bournemouth, our first home game, mistakes cost us there. Heaton gave away a penalty within what felt like 30 seconds, and that was the game done and dusted there and then. But our third game of the season resulted in our first win. Huge win against Everton, 2-0. Wesley was on fire that game. It was probably his best game I've seen. Just holding up the play, pinging it all around the shop. Everton didn't have the best game in the world, but it was huge for us to get that clean sheet, get the 2-0 win. Huge margin there. And it was just good to get the confidence going. First points on the board, it's always important. Our next game was against Crewe, and I'm just going to talk about the Carabao Cup a little bit there. I've got a mate who supports Arsenal. He keeps on calling it a Mickey Mouse trophy, and he keeps asking me why you actually asked about it. Come on. I know, yeah, it's not as big as the FA Cup. It's obviously not as big as the Premier League. But Dino keeps on saying it was the last trophy we won. We've got a lot of history in it. Obviously, we won it in 94, 96, when it was a little bit bigger than it is now. I think the Carabao Cup does sound a little bit simpler. But I don't see any reason why we can't go for it this season. It shows that we've got a good squad. We've got a better squad than Brighton. Obviously, they played their reserve sides. We put them in the bin. Wolves played their under-12s. We beat them. And it just shows how good our side is, that we can, you know, play a lot of players that don't get game time, play the fringe players, play the younger players. And it works. We can still beat sides. And obviously we've got Liverpool coming up in the quarterfinals, and like I said, for Wolves, they will play that under-12 side. So that's sort of like a good way to get into the semi-finals then. And you know exactly what will happen. We will get Man City and get done about 10-0 on aggregate because this whole thing is rigged. But it's still a good way to get through, get a lot of players game time. Courtney Hawes, Ezri Konsa, Henry Lansbury, who's performed well in the Carabao Cup. Get these players game time and just get them on the pitch, because that's what we want. We want to see them play. You know, I hadn't heard of Ezri Konsa before this season. Yes, he played for Wolves in the league game, but that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't down to injuries. So it even gives the fans a little bit more to see these players that you wouldn't necessarily see in the Premier League. So I don't see why we shouldn't go for it in the Carabao Cup. Let's get a trophy. Let's get a day out at Wembley. It's not going to cost us because our squad is that good, so why not? Let's go for it. I'll come on to it later, but I think there's a lot of positives to take for the majority of games. The only 2 games this season that I do not think were good, and there was nothing there, was Crystal Palace away and Wolves away a couple of days ago. Admittedly, Palace should have been 1-1. I'm not going to talk about that because it'll just get me angry again. You go watch that video if you want to, but it'll just get me angry talking about VAR. But that should have been 1-1, so we didn't even play well, and we should have got a draw out of that. Again, we had 10 men in that game as well. Trezeguet got stupidly sent off, but there was just nothing in that game. I don't think Crystal Palace's keeper had to do anything, to be honest. Wolves was similar. I think the 2-1 scoreline flattered us. It could have been 5, 6, 7 even. Jimenez looked really good. I think he's probably one of the most underrated strikers in the Premier League. We never got going, did we? I think there was a lot of pressure on McGinn. Douglas Luiz had a shocking game. The wingers I didn't think were very good at all, even though Trezeguet scored. El Ghazi looked particularly poor. Wesley had chances, but he didn't put them away. Story of his season so far. So not a lot happened in that game, not a lot to take. So to be fair, 2 games out of 12 that didn't show any positives isn't too bad, to be fair. Just talking about the Wolves game as well, if you want me to do match reviews where I do something like this, sit down, talk about the game for 10 minutes, because at the end of like every vlog I do 2 minutes talking, but that's not normally enough. So if you want me to do match reviews, just sit down, 10 minutes, talk about that game in particular, let me know in the comments, and if you want to see it, I will do it. So like I've touched on there, I think there's a lot of positives to talk about, and these are the main things that I think we should gather from the season so far. Number 1, the inability to kill off teams when they have 10 men. West Ham at home, Arsenal away, Brighton at home. Arsenal, we were winning in the first half and they got a man sent off, and you think, yeah, we're in, we're going to get a point at least here. And we throw it away. We just do throw it away. Why? Brighton was particularly bad as well, even though we did win that game. Aaron Moy got sent off in the first half. And even in the second half when they had 10 men, Brighton's midfield were just running over us. And that's something we need to sort of get over, because it seems like there's been a red card in a lot of games for Villa this season. So we need to take heavy advantage of that, and we haven't so far from what I've seen. Cheers. Another big point I think we can gather from the season so far is our ability to crumble towards the end of the game. Aston Villa have thrown away more points from winning positions than any other team in the Premier League. We are so good in the first half, apart from Wolves. Tottenham took the lead, Arsenal took the lead, Liverpool took the lead. I can't remember any others, but I'm sure there's been other games where we've took the lead and thrown it away. I don't really know what to put that down to. It's probably a bit of game management issues. It's just a bit of inexperience, naivety, which a lot of the comments talked about on Twitter. Rakesh says something quite interesting from Twitter here. He says, consistently inconsistent. I like that. Oh, that's a good way to put it. We have an issue with game management shown by the number of goals we concede late in games. But the objective this season is to stay up and play in this league. There are no easy games in this league, so we are going to need luck and VAR on our side. VAR, I don't want to talk about it because I hate talking about it. But it is awful. That brings me on to something that was reported today, actually. So this came out on Twitter today. Aston Villa have written to the Premier League to express concerns over the use of VAR. And there has been a few leaked images of this letter, so I'll put it on screen now. Check this out. So we all know that VAR has screwed us over this season. Palace, Brighton, I can't name the other ones, but I'm sure there's been lots of other ones where we've just been totally robbed. Obviously that Liverpool one went in our favour where Firmino was offside because his armpit was offside. What a load of bollocks that is. But it's useless. It's costing teams points that they don't deserve. I'm not having to go at the system of VAR because there is sort of positives there. It's just that people don't know how to use it. The Alexander-Arnold handball against Man City on Sunday, it's just ridiculous, and that's cost Man City a goal because Liverpool went up the other end and scored. So it's useless. It will get there eventually, I hope, but right now it could be the difference between teams going up or down or winning games or titles or things like that. So they really do need to sort it out. So the final thing I can gather from this season is that there have been positives in every single game, bar the ones I talked about previously. So that suggests to me that going forward, over time, we will improve. The players are improving and gelling every single game. Just put into perspective, we signed, what was it, 13, 14 players in the summer. No other club has done that, and we're not even in the relegation zone. Like, look at the positives. They're all going to gel every single game. We're going to get better over time. We are going to gel and get better. So just be patient. This brings me on to Charlie's comment. He says, points tally doesn't represent how well we've done in games. However, how close we are to the bottom three is an indicator of how many points we have let slip in order to allow ourselves to be so close to them. Have faith. 3 points off relegation, only 6 off Europe. I think that's a good thing to say. Look, there is a gap there to the relegation zone. They're not great down there. I mean, saying that, Watford will probably beat us now, but look, there is a gap there, and there is a gap, you know, going top to Europe, like Charlie says. It's not actually that big, so we've got to stay positive. There's positives there. Over time, if we improve and get to that sort of 12th, 13th place, I think we'll be happy with that. Just want to talk about a few individual players. McGinn, wow, what a play he is. Taken to the Premier League like a duck to water. He was brilliant in the Championship, but now in the Premier League, absolutely exceptional. Jack Grealish has taken a little bit longer, but now, I know it's unfortunate with the injury, but you can see he's getting to grips with it a little bit more. I keep on referring to the Brighton game where he just ran the show. I know it was against 10 men and it was Brighton, but, you know, he'll be there. He's banging on the door of the England squad. I don't know why he's not in there. I'm not complaining because, you know, he can rest for his injury, but he will get there eventually. I want to talk about Engels as well. I don't think he gets a lot of credit, to be fair. I know there's a lot of limelight on Tyrone Mings, but for £7 million, whatever it was, Engels, I think he's a strong contender for bargain of the season so far, which is why I'm going to do a poll actually. So vote on this poll. Who has been your bargain of the season so far? For me, I think there's 3 main ones. Tom Heaton, who's been exceptional as well. He's a fantastic leader, captain material. Engels, like I talked about, and Nakamba as well. So vote on that poll up there. Leave your thoughts as well if you don't think it's any of those 3 in the comments as well. Final player I'm going to talk about individually is Wesley. I've got a lot to say on Wesley, so if you want me to do like a whole video talking about Wesley, because there is a lot to talk about, let me know. But in short, he hasn't been good enough. I don't think he has. I don't think he works hard enough. I don't think he gets himself in the right position most of the time. Most of the time he's sprinting behind the midfielders to get in the box when we have the ball, which is a little bit funny. Bear in mind he's a 6'3" big centre forward, so he should be in the box anyway, but I don't think he does enough. I think there's positives to build on. It's always going to be tough. New country, young age, new language, etc. New team. So I can't, you know, hammer him too much. I'm a little bit 50-50. I'm positive for him. There's no one that I want to do better than Wesley. I want him to score 20, 30 goals for us in the Premier League. But right now, I just don't see that happening. I know we scored 4 in the likes of Joel Linton and Haller. Haven't been doing as well as Wesley, to be fair, so we can't be too harsh on him. He's still only, what, 22 or something ridiculous, so he's still young. He's got vast amount of time on his side, so we just need to stay positive, but it's hard to do that when he's not doing as well as we'd all like. Leave your thoughts on Wesley in the comments. I think it'll probably be quite heated about Wesley, so let me know. If you want me to do a video about Wesley, just talking about Wesley in particular, let me know as well. He's also in the Brazil squad. I think that can only benefit him working with Jesus, Firmino, I can't think of any other Brazilians, but it's always going to help him, isn't it, going to, you know, a new environment, going back to his home country. It's just going to give him a bit of a refresh, come back to Villa, hopefully fired up and ready to go. So, what's to come for the rest of this season? January, for me, I think we need a striker. A lot of people have been talking about Morelos from Rangers. I would love it if we got him. I'm a big fan of Rangers, so that might cause a bit of controversy there. Dean Smith did say in one of his press conferences though that we're not after him. Really, Dino? Come on, pal. You know, I think he's a really good player that we should be going for. He's different to Wesley. He's a little bit shorter, a little bit quicker, a little bit of a fox in the box, which I like about him. I think he's pretty much all that we need at the moment, in terms of a striker anyway. I think we need a winger as well, just as a backup to El Ghazi and Trez. I don't think, with El Ghazi being so inconsistent, like 2 weeks he'll give you a 2 out of 10, 1 week he'll give you an 8 out of 10, and you can't afford to be that inconsistent in the Premier League. You need good, solid, reliable wingers, and El Ghazi isn't that for me. Trezeguet, on the other hand, I think is getting there. Absolutely, I think Liverpool, he was fantastic. Wolves, he looked like a little bit of a lost dog, but I think there's positives there. He scored as well, so he's getting his shooting boots on. He's looking good. So I think we need a striker, winger and a creative midfielder, but I think Hotter could play that role. I think he would have played in the Grealish role against Wolves, but he was injured, obviously, with a hernia. So I will do a video talking about January a little bit closer to the time. So keep an eye out for that one. Let me know exactly who you would want as well. Not to talk about in the comments this week. I'll keep on telling you to leave your comments, but do. So, coming towards the end of the video now, just going to give you my general thoughts. Look, I think we have to have perspective. This time a year ago, we were playing mid-table in the Championship. So keep perspective. Players are gelling every single game. It was always going to be tough with the volume of players we brought in, the nationalities, the new language, new team, new league. For Dino and the coaching staff, it's always going to be hard going into a new league. So keep the faith, keep the positivity. I've seen a few comments saying Dean Smith isn't up to the job, but what a load of rubbish. Even if we get relegated, I want Dino in because I love the man, absolutely love the man. I think he is the man for the job and I absolutely love him. So let's just end on 2 more comments from Twitter. This one's from Matt. He says, let's not forget Dean Smith's goal this season was to stay up. If we achieve that, I'll be happy. Anything else is a bonus. It's so good having a packed out Villa Park for every single match. So much life has been breathed into the club this year. Absolutely agree with that. Villa Park has been majority of weeks absolutely booming this season, and it's so good to see rather than last year where we had 30,000 versus Bolton on a Friday night. So looking at it from that way, it's all good. It's all good with the Villa. Final comment then of this video from JTT on Twitter says, shocked it needs reminding, but can you remind our fans that we signed a dozen new players, a dozen have left, we're a newly promoted team after finishing 5th in the Championship. It's Smith's first pre-season and his first summer window. It was always going to take time and patience. Fully agree with that. If you have enjoyed the video, please do leave a like, comment all your thoughts on everything I have discussed. Subscribe to the second channel, Max on Tour. A lot coming on there. In the coming days, we're going to Spain, so that should be a little bit interesting. Keep the faith, up the Villa.